Have you ever looked down at your feet after a long day and thought, why do they feel so heavy, so swollen, like they're carrying the weight of the world? If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. So many of us, especially as we get a little older, notice that our feet and ankles just don't feel the way they used to. Maybe they puff up after a walk around the block, or maybe it's just sitting in your favorite chair for too long that does it. It's frustrating, isn't it? That feeling of discomfort that creeps in and makes you wonder if this is just how things are going to be from now on. Well, I've got some good news for you today. It doesn't have to be that way. Swollen feet, or what doctors sometimes call edema, is something a lot of us deal with as we age. But here's the thing, it's not just about getting older. There's so much we can do to feel better, to lighten that load, and I'm excited to share it with you. Over the course of this video, we're going to walk through some of the biggest mistakes we make when our feet swell up, and trust me, there's one mistake that tops the list, and then I'll show you some simple, doctor-approved ways to find relief. These are things you can start doing right now, today, without needing fancy equipment or complicated plans. Just practical, everyday steps that can make your feet feel like they belong to you again. Now, let's start with something I bet a lot of us have done at one point or another. Picture this, your feet are swollen, maybe after a day of running errands or standing in the kitchen making that family recipe everyone loves. You sit down, prop your legs up, and think, I'll just ignore it, it'll go away on its own. Sound familiar? I've been there too. Maybe you've even said to yourself, oh, it's just part of getting older, or I'll deal with it tomorrow. That right there is the number one mistake seniors make when treating swollen feet, ignoring it, hoping it'll magically fix itself. And I get it, life gets busy, and it's easy to brush it off. But here's why that's a problem. When we let swelling stick around, it's not just about feeling uncomfortable. It can actually make things worse over time. You see, swelling happens when fluid builds up in your feet and ankles, and that can come from all sorts of things. Maybe your heart's working a little harder these days, or your veins aren't moving blood around as smoothly as they once did. Sometimes it's even as simple as too much salt in last night's dinner. But when we ignore it, that fluid doesn't just disappear. It sits there, putting pressure on everything, making your feet feel heavy and tired, and sometimes even making it harder to get around. I remember my neighbor, Mary, telling me how she used to just shrug off her swollen feet. She'd say, oh, it's nothing, until one day she realized her shoes didn't fit anymore, and walking to her mailbox felt like climbing a mountain. That's when she knew something had to change. So, what do we do instead? The first thing, and this is so easy you'll wonder why you didn't try it sooner, is to get those feet moving, even just a little. I'm not talking about running a marathon or anything wild like that. Just gentle movement can work wonders. Try this, while you're sitting there, maybe watching this video, point your toes up toward the ceiling, then down toward the floor, like you're pressing on a gas pedal. Do that a few times, maybe 10 or so, and feel how your legs start to wake up. It's like giving your body a little nudge to get that fluid moving again. My friend Tom, who's 72, swears by this. He does it every morning while he's having his coffee, and he says his feet haven't felt this good in years. But movement isn't the only trick up our sleeve. Another thing we can do, and this one straight from the doctors, is to pay attention to how we're sitting or standing during the day. I used to think sitting with my legs crossed was the most comfortable way to relax, kick back with a cup of tea and a good book. Turns out, that's not doing my feet any favors. When we cross our legs or sit for too long without a break, it's like putting a kink in a garden hose, everything gets backed up. Instead, try keeping your feet flat on the floor, or even better, prop them up on a little stool or a couple of pillows. Not way up in the air like you're at the doctor's office, just a gentle lift, enough to let gravity help out a little. I started doing this while I watch my evening shows, and let me tell you, it's like a mini vacation for my feet. Now, I know what you might be thinking, that sounds nice, but what if my feet are already swollen right now? Don't worry, we're not stopping here. There's so much more we can do to ease that puffiness and get you feeling lighter on your feet. We've talked about why ignoring it doesn't work, and how a little movement and a better way of sitting can start turning things around. But there's another piece to this puzzle that ties right into what we wear every day, something so simple, yet so easy to get wrong. Let's move into that next, because it's a game changer you won't want to miss. So, we've been chatting about how ignoring swollen feet can backfire and how little things like moving your toes or propping your legs up can start making a difference. Now, let's talk about something we all deal with every single day, our shoes. Oh, I know, it sounds so basic, right? But you'd be surprised how much of a role they play in whether our feet feel happy or end up swollen by dinner time. I used to think a good shoe was just one that looked nice with my outfit or felt cozy when I slipped it on. But here's where so many of us, including me at one point, go wrong. We stick with shoes that are too tight, too old, or just not giving our feet the support they need. And when your feet are already prone to swelling, that's like asking for trouble. Think about the last time you wore a pair of shoes that pinched your toes or squeezed your ankles. Maybe it was that pair you've had forever because they're just so broken in, or maybe it was something new you grabbed because they were on sale. I'll tell you a quick story. My sister-in-law, Linda, she's 68, and she loves her little black flats. Wears them everywhere, church, the grocery store, you name it. But she started noticing her feet would swell up like balloons by the afternoon. She'd kick them off and sigh, "I guess my feet just don't like me anymore." Turns out, it wasn't her feet, it was those flats. They were cute, sure, but they were flat as a pancake, no arch support, and a little too snug around the edges. Once she switched to something with a bit more room and cushion, it was like night and day. So, what do we do instead? Look for shoes that give your feet some breathing space, literally. Doctors say to go for ones with a wider toe box, so your toes aren't all squished together, and a little bit of a lift in the heel, maybe half an inch or so, to help that fluid flow back up where it belongs. And here's a tip, try them on later in the day. I learned this the hard way. Your feet naturally swell a bit as the day goes on, so if you buy shoes in the morning when your feet are at their smallest, they might feel like a vice by evening. My friend Carol started doing this, and she swears she's found the comfiest pair of sneakers she's ever owned. She even walks an extra lap around the park now because her feet don't complain. But it's not just about the shoes we wear, it's also about what's underneath them. Let's talk socks for a minute. I used to grab whatever was in the drawer, usually those tight ones with the elastic bands that leave little red rings around my ankles. You know the ones I mean? They're like tiny tourniquets, trapping everything right where we don't want it. A doctor friend of mine once told me, if your socks are leaving marks, they're too tight, and that's a swelling invitation. Instead, try something looser, maybe those soft cotton ones without the grippy tops, or even compression socks if your doctor gives you the green light. Compression socks sound fancy, but they're just snug enough to help push that fluid back up your legs without cutting off circulation. My cousin Joe, who's 75, started wearing them on his long drives to visit his grandkids, and he says it's like his legs got a second wind. Now, while we're on the topic of what's touching our feet, let's think about something else we can control: how much salt we're eating. I know, nobody wants to hear about cutting back on the good stuff. I love a salty pretzel as much as the next person. But here's the deal. Too much salt tells your body to hold onto water, and guess where it likes to hang out? Yep, your feet and ankles. I'm not saying you have to toss out the salt shaker or skip your favorite snacks altogether. Just try a little swap here and there. Maybe instead of reaching for the chips, grab a handful of unsalted nuts, or sprinkle some herbs, like rosemary or thyme, on your potatoes instead of piling on the salt. I started doing this after a doctor's visit where they pointed at my puffy ankles and asked about my diet. It wasn't easy at first, but after a week or so, I noticed my rings fit better, and my feet didn't feel like they were ready to burst. And speaking of feeling better, there's another trick that ties right into this, one that's so relaxing you might even look forward to it. It's something you can do at home, no special tools needed, and it's been a lifesaver for so many folks I've talked to. We're going to ease into that next, because once you hear about it, you'll wonder how you ever got by without it. We've been having quite a chat, haven't we? From figuring out why ignoring swollen feet is a mistake, to finding the right shoes and cutting back on salt, it's all starting to come together. Now, let's talk about something that feels like a treat but works like a charm, soaking your feet. I don't know about you, but the first time I tried this, I thought, why didn't I do this sooner? It's so simple, yet it's one of those doctor-approved remedies that can make your feet feel brand new. Picture this, you're sitting there after a long day, maybe with a cup of tea or some soft music playing, and you dip your feet into a warm tub of water. It's not just relaxing, it's actually doing something good for you. Here's how it works. Warm water helps get that blood flowing, easing the pressure from all that fluid sitting around in your feet. And if you add a handful of Epsom salt, oh, it's like magic. Not the kind you eat, mind you, but the kind you find in the pharmacy aisle. It's got magnesium in it, which doctors say can help calm down inflammation and pull some of that extra water out. I remember my Aunt Doris, she's 81, telling me how she started doing this a couple nights a week. She'd sit there with her mystery novel, feet soaking, and by the time she was done, she'd say, I feel 20 years lighter. All you need is a basin big enough for your feet, some warm water, not too hot, just cozy, and maybe a scoop of that Epsom salt if you've got it. Let them soak for 15 or 20 minutes, and then pat them dry. It's like giving your feet a little thank you for all they do. But let's say soaking isn't your thing, or maybe you don't have time to sit still that long. There's another option that's just as easy and feels just as good, massage. I'm not talking about anything fancy or expensive. You can do this yourself, right at home. After a bath or even while you're watching TV, take a little lotion, whatever you've got handy, maybe that scented one you got for your birthday, and rub it into your feet. Start at your toes, work your way up to your ankles, and just gently press and knead. It doesn't have to be perfect. The idea is to get things moving, to help that fluid find its way out. My buddy Frank, who's 70, started doing this after his doctor suggested it. He laughed at first, said, I'm no masseuse. But now he does it every night, and he says his feet don't feel like concrete anymore. And while we're pampering our feet, let's not forget about keeping them cool, literally. Heat can make swelling worse, especially on those warm days when you're out in the garden or just enjoying the sunshine. I used to love sitting on my porch in the summer, but I'd come inside with feet so puffy I could barely get my slippers on. A nurse I know told me to try keeping them cool instead, maybe with a damp cloth or even just resting them near a fan for a few minutes. It's not about freezing them, just taking the edge off the heat. I started doing this last summer, and it was such a relief. Pair that with sipping some water, not guzzling, just steady sips throughout the day, and you're giving your body a fighting chance to flush out that extra fluid naturally. Now, as we wrap up this little journey together, I just want to take a moment to think about everything we've covered. It's not about big, overwhelming changes. It's the small stuff, like wiggling your toes, picking better shoes, or treating yourself to a soak. These are things we can all do, no matter how busy life gets, and they add up to something pretty wonderful. I've seen it in my own life, and I've heard it from folks like Mary and Tom and Doris. Little steps can lighten the load on your feet and lift your spirits too. You don't have to feel stuck with swollen feet, and you don't have to figure it all out alone. I'd love to hear from you. What's worked for you when your feet start acting up? Maybe you've got a trick I haven't tried yet, or a story about how you got back to feeling good. Drop it in the comments below. I read every one, and it's so much fun to swap ideas with you all. And if you found this helpful, give the video a little like. It helps more people find it, and I'd be so grateful. Oh, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm always sharing things like this, stuff that's simple and real, to keep us all feeling our best. Here's the thing, every day we get is a gift, and taking care of ourselves, even in these small ways, is how we make the most of it. So, here's to lighter feet, brighter days, and celebrating every age like it's a birthday. Happy birthday to you, today and always, keep shining.